Kobold Press has released the first playtest for its new core fantasy role-playing game. But is Project Black Flag the D&D killer?
Oh boy, here I go killing again.
The first playtest packet for Kobold Press's upcoming core fantasy role-playing game is out now, which is being playtested as Project Black Flag. Core Fantasy, and no, that's not the final name, just a placeholder, is a new rule system that is intended to be backwards compatible with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and can be used with any 5th edition material, conveniently including all the 5th edition material published by Kobold Press. Think of it as a system similar to End Publishing's Level Up, only a little bit cozier to the original 5th edition rules. So the first Project Black Flag playtest covers heritages, backgrounds, and talents, which provide rules replacements for races and sub-races and feats. So, let's dig into the playtest. Lineages and Heritages are the equivalent of sorts to races and sub-races. Players choose a lineage, which comes with some biological traits such as low light vision or a natural resilience against poison, and a heritage, which determines certain traits that are tied to a particular culture. Now, while different heritages are included in specific ancestry sections, a player can choose any combination of heritage and ancestry. So, a player could be an elf with stone heritage traits, or a dwarf raised with a nomadic heritage. The playtest includes 3 ancestries, dwarf, elf, and human, and 6 heritages, fireforge and stone, which are most commonly associated with dwarves, cloud and grove heritages, which are most commonly associated with elves, and nomadic and cosmopolitan, which are most commonly associated with humans. Backgrounds in Project Black Flag are closer to a OneD&D background than a standard 5e background, mostly because each background comes with a choice of talent in addition to some skill proficiencies or languages and other little minor things. So these talents, they act as a sort of equivalent to a low-level feat. While players don't get an ability score increase with any of these talents, and we'll cover ability score increases or the lack thereof a little bit later, these talents still provide some pretty powerful options both in and out of combat. For instance, the mental fortitude talent allows a player to re-roll an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving throw once per long rest, while the combat conditioning talent grants players 2 extra hit points per level and increases the size of any new hit dice added after the talent is taken by 1 size. So a d6 becomes a d8, and so on and so forth. We'll note that the talents seem to be much better than standard 5e feats. For instance, the combat casting talent that allows players to automatically succeed on concentration checks if the DC is less than the player's spellcasting DC, and also allows players to cast a cantrip as a reaction if an enemy enters a space within 5 feet of them, seems very powerful. So, ability score increases. They aren't really in Project Black Flag. Well, kind of, sort of, but not really. When a player chooses ability scores, players simply add 2 to one ability score that's 16 or less, and adds 1 to an ability score that's 17 or less. Alternatively, players can just decide to use a 32 point buy option instead, or a standard array that's a little bit beefier than the standard point array that's found in 5th edition. In fact, a little beefier than 5e is how we'd really describe this whole playtest. I like that it approaches some of the design weaknesses of 5e, the same design weaknesses that OneD&D is trying to address, by giving characters more power instead of trying to rebalance things. I also like that the heritage system provides a little bit more room for cultures specific to a campaign setting in a way that the OneD&D backgrounds do not. That extra customization should not only encourage publishers, third-party publishers, and Kobold Press themselves to make Black Flag heritages for their campaign settings, it also has the potential to make players feel like their characters are a little bit more connected to the world of the game. Now, we'll note that Kobold Press seems to deliberately be making Project Black Flag a little bit beefier than 5e. In fact, they note that a character created using the Project Black Flag rules will be slightly more powerful than a 5e character. So if you're making a 5e character and want to make it equivalent in power to a Project Black Flag character, they recommend that you simply give a 5e character a first level feat to help kind of keep things balanced. Anyways, we encourage you to try out and test the full playtest packet. You can find it on Kobold Press's website, and you can provide feedback on the playtest through February 27th. And in fact, they've already announced that the next set of Project Black Flag material will come out in March. So, what did you think of Project Black Flag? Let us know in the comments section, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.